G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to my first impressions of the BF-109 G-14. Now the G-14 is a new aircraft introduced in patch 1.47. It was originally introduced at battle rating 5.0, but has since been increased to battle rating 5.7. Now, I never actually flew this aircraft when it was battle rating 5, so this first impressions is entirely on the new 5.7 battle rating. The armaments of the aircraft are two 13mm MG131 heavy machine guns, with 600 rounds of ammunition, and a single 20mm MG151 cannon with 200 rounds of ammunition mounted down the prop hub. This gives the G-14 in stock format a 2.43kg burst mass. Max speed in stock format is listed at 628 km an hour at 24,600 feet, with an on-runner turn time of 22 seconds, and a 3,225 feet per minute rate of climb. Now for this first battle we find ourselves on Corson fighting the Russians and a lot of LA-7s, and for something that is actually rather unusual for me, I'm not doing this first impressions alone. For today's first impressions I'm actually accompanied by Laurent Caccia of SST-AI Squadron and Crazy Monkey of PDAD Squadron. Beginning my first moves on an LA-7, now I should point out at this time that this is only the second time I've actually ever flown this aircraft. LA-7 pushes a wide barrel roll and dives away, I fire a burst and miss. Now I'm going to move him over, I beat him in the roll rate, get the lead shot, and my first kill of the match. And a relatively easy kill overall, rather than trying to follow the LA-7 through its manoeuvres, of which it would eventually beat an aircraft like the G-14. Instead of trying to follow it and get the guns on the target, put the guns where the target is going to be and wait. He drove straight into my shots. Now on the discussion of guns, there is something that I noticed about the G-14 the first time I flew it out, which was actually in one of the realistic challenge combined arms battles. I flew it out as a secondary plane. It was the first time I'd ever put it in the air. The guns seem to have possibly the highest spread in stock format of any of the 109s in the game. They really do have a tendency to shotgun outside of 400 meters. While this is fairly easy to counter by getting nice and close to the target before firing your shot, it is worth keeping in mind if you're one of those players who does like to line up and go for those extremely long-range snipes, or likes to go head-on against enemy aircraft. Its chances are most of the shots that you fire outside of 400 meters are not going to go anywhere near the target that you're actually aiming at. Engaging a second LA-7, get a nice solid clip in on the target, wind up overshooting the LA-7 in a dive, but perform a full elevation pull-up and then roll to invert and re-dive to fall back onto its tail. Now he's attempting to dive in on Laurent Caccia, who is engaging a second LA-7. He manages to manoeuvre out of the way, I give him just enough warning in time. Line up the lead, but the LA-7 begins to manoeuvre. Now I know the LA-7 has a faster roll rate than the G-14, and I would have assumed at low altitudes the LA-7 would also be superior in turning, but as it turns out, this is not quite the case. Pulling through the turn and taking a lead on him, and there is my second kill. Now up until this point I've been looking at the G-14 really as being something in between the G6 and the G10. Now I'm not so sure I was correct. It is looking like the G-14 is simply a lighter, more manoeuvrable version of the G10 fighter. And this is something that really appeals to me. I have a sneaking suspicion I may have found a new favourite fighter at 5.7 for the Germans. Now I have been overheating the G-14 for some time, and this is one of the things I did notice about it in stock format. It is an aircraft that's time on WEP versus its overheat time, it's not particularly great. It does overheat fast. However, I was able to keep it in the red for an exceptionally long period of time without a timer coming up, which is interesting. I did get timers on it eventually, but it took a significant amount of time in the red before it got there, so it doesn't seem to be something you'll need to worry about too much. Once I got the radiator unlocked, this aircraft, it was much better on its heating. So after a quick cooldown, here comes the next target, line up the shot, pull the trigger, and there goes the next target, third kill. Yeah, look guys, I know there was a small riot when Gaijin increased this thing's battle rating from 5 to 5.7, but if I can be perfectly honest with you, I'm not entirely sure this battle rating increase was actually unwarranted. I can only imagine the absolute chaos a squadron of these things formed up could have caused in battle rating 5. I'm actually a little sorry that I missed it. So anyways, this battle is 8 on 8. I'm currently sitting on 3 kills and there are only 2 targets remaining. Now I'm overheating once again. I didn't give the engine a huge amount of time to cool down before that kill, but I'm keeping the WEP on at the moment. I want to see exactly how long I can keep it until the timer comes up, and I want to try and get back to altitude as fast as I can. The climb rate on this is actually really nice. I actually think it's a little bit higher than what it says on the stat card. It doesn't seem to take that long to pull out 4,000 to 5,000 feet. In fact, it only takes a couple of minutes to pull this thing out at 20,000 feet. Now, one of the two remaining aircraft on the enemy team has been eliminated. The last aircraft remaining I have spotted. It's another LA-7. Big surprise there. It's sitting around 10,000 feet. It is already engaged with two aircraft, but I am trying to climb to altitude to actually get into its position. Now, I did flinch a couple of times here. I kept getting targeted by AAA. They didn't actually do any damage when they struck me, but they were dead on hits to bring up the red targeting ring around the aircraft from all directions. So I was trying to skip and jump around a little bit. It seems like every AAA gun in the zone was currently locked on to my location. Now, the rate of fire on the guns, I found them, well, they're German MG131 and 151s. They're very controllable weapons. 3 kills so far, and I still have 123 rounds of ammunition on board and 418 rounds of MG. So overall, keeping discipline on the trigger is actually quite easy with these guns. The German guns in general seem to be almost perfect for this kind of play. They have a fast enough fire rate to be especially deadly, with some extremely powerful shells, and there's another AAA hit. But at the same time, they seem to be slow enough firing that you can keep control even with a limited ammo load, just nicely. 2.7 out of the LA-7 and closing in. He looks like he's going into a stall turn to drive back onto the 190. I intend to make sure I'm there to deny him a kill. 1.6 off target. I'm bringing my nose around to follow him at the moment. I need to build up airspeed more than anything else. I have backed off the WEP, however. I'm hoping a high-speed dive will cool my engine off without me having to back off on the throttle. This will allow me to, well, basically give me more WEP time on the other side of the fight when we actually get into the manoeuvring part of this battle, and take away the stress of having to worry about my engine going into a meltdown in the most important part of the fight. LA-7B goes vertical. Go to pursue, try and get the lead. Good solid hit to one wing. He tries to roll out of the way. I'm shooting a little wild here, but I've got plenty of ammunition left to go over. This is the last guy on the enemy team, following him through his rollovers. Put the guns where he's going to be, pull the trigger, critical hit, set him on fire. Loop back underneath so he doesn't have a chance to get the guns on me, and then take it vertical. With that damage, he's not going to be able to follow me, and I can just sit up here and watch him burn. I do try and bring the guns back around to put an extra shot at him here, because he is being targeted by everyone at the moment, but I'm pretty sure with that kind of a critical hit, and there it is. 4 kills on my second ever flyout at battle rating 5.7 in the G-14. So let's go check out the results. So, first place for the team with 4 kills, we got Fighter Rescuer, Avenger, Professional X3, Shadow Strike Streak X3, Win Streak X2, and Insignia, Final Blow, The Best Squad, Terror of the Sky, and Bulletproof, 92,005 Silver Lions, and we pulled in we only pulled in 4,885 research points for 4 kills. This is really interesting because I was actually running a 75% booster that I got out of the box of the day during this match, and, well, that's all you get. Fuselage repair unlocked, and I almost unlocked the radiator in its entirety as well, so not a bad match for my second time out in the aircraft and the first time in full-blown air-to-air combat. It was a beautiful plane to fly. G-14 does exactly what I like when I'm flying my fighters. It is a beautiful handling aircraft. It has excellent guns. It does incredible amounts of damage. It's easy to control them. There is one problem with it at the moment, though. Now, that is much better. Alright, let's go into another match. So, back into the skies again, and this time we're over Norway. Airspawn versus Airspawn in patch 1.47, and it looks like this time the skies are full of Spitfires. So moving in on first targets, Lorelix looks like he's manoeuvring in to engage the premium Spitfire, and so is Crazy Monkey, so I'm going to move over here on Viper X 1982 and take on his Spitfire to make sure he can't supply backup to my wingman. Now we're at 14,800 feet, I'm moving at just under 500 kilometers an hour. I'm able to push the plane vertical to follow Viper through the sky. He pushes his Mark 14E into a vertical rollover and basically lines himself up for an easy kill. Now that burst nearly took me to 17,000 feet and only cost me about 180 kilometers an hour in speed. Well, 180 to 190 kilometers an hour. That's quite impressive energy retention. I'm pretty impressed with this. The more I fly this plane, the more it feels like a lighter, angrier version of the G10, or actually probably a better description for it would be the feeling I got out of the K4 when flying it, but without the weight and the low velocity of the 30mm cannon. So next target is up and we have another Spitfire, 2.8 and we're closing fast. Looks like he's manoeuvring to engage with Laurel X, 1.5 kilometers out. Does he see me coming? Almost in gun range. I've got vastly more speed than he does at the moment, closing range quite easily. It's an LF Mark 9. Just trying to get ahead of him here. Oh, bad shot. Now he throws it into a turn. Now a Spitfire will beat a 109 in a turn. There is not much I can do about this here. So what I've got to do is let him do his turn and again try and work out where he's going to be and reposition the aircraft to intercept. If I do it right, I can actually outmaneuver the Spitfire without out-turning it. Now I've backed the throttles off to 70%, the Spitfire is at 100% throttle, the 109 is faster in a dive, so I have to slow down my speed, otherwise I'll overshoot and put myself straight in front of his guns, and I just cannot allow that to happen. If the Spitfire gets on my tail, I'm likely dead. Nice long shot, and there we go, second kill of the match. Immediately back to WEP, start putting this thing's speed back into altitude and getting off the deck, although it looks like most of the enemy team has been forced down to low altitude. There is at least one fighter up there, but he looks like he's running away from an engagement happening above him. So I'm gently bringing the nose around. I don't want to lose too much speed. I need to convert as much of it to altitude as I possibly can, but I'm just repositioning so I can work out who I'm going to attack next. Now it looks like the rest of the fight is going to be happening smack bang in the middle of those islands. We already have a premium Spitfire on the deck. He's looking like the likely target at the moment. He has a TA-152 diving in on him with a 190, actually playing Overwatch. Now if the TA misses, the Spitfire could turn back and quite easily take him out, so that Spitfire has to be the next target. We have got a second Spitfire in the area, so that does give me a second option if I need it, but that premium Spitfire, that thing's a problem. It needs to be dealt with. There is also a premium Tempest engaging him as well, and god, this is why I hate premium aircraft. We've got two British aircraft shooting at one another at the moment, except one's American and one's German. Bring the plane around and go for the shot, and what the hell just hit me? Well, that was the tail plane of the premium Tempest, just going straight through my aircraft, crippled the fuselage and did severe damage to the left wing. The premium Tempest seems entirely unbothered by the fact that it just rammed me mid-flight. Now going home is actually a major problem at the moment too, because the force of the impact has actually torn off my left landing wheels, so I'm going to have a lot of trouble putting this thing back on the ground. So best bet is, even despite the damage, continue engaging the enemy. So next target is a clip-wing Spitfire or a Spitfire Mark 16. Now these things are actually rather rare to encounter. Back off the throttle and put the plane into a high angle turn so I can come back around on him. I very nearly overshot him then. Premium Spitfire is passing through on the tail of the Premium Tempest. I was contemplating lifting the guns and putting shots into the Premium Spitfire, however, it's not just the Tempest that's engaged with him at the moment, there are two other allied fighters engaging with him, so best to work on the 16 and keep him occupied so he can't form back into the fight. Now this seems like a great time to talk about how the G-14 flies when damaged, and unfortunately not very well is the best way to describe it. Tempest gets shots in on the Spitfire, fire a burst, but see the fireball, pull back on the triggers. Looks like there's a P-51 behind me, I'll go put some shots into him instead. Now as I was saying, G-14 flying with damage, not very well. I did notice a tendency, I did notice it before the first time I flew it, and I noticed it again here. When you take damage in the wings in the G-14, it becomes extremely hard to control in turns, especially with the keyboard. There's a tendency when applying elevator with a damaged wing for the plane to attempt to corkscrew itself upside down and then dive into the ground. Now the only way to counteract this problem that I've been able to find is to simply stop using the keyboard binds, which of course severely hampers your ability to control the aircraft. My best recommendation to G-14 pilots is don't get shot in the first place. If you do get shot in the wings, get the thing home and get it fixed. To people flying against the G-14, shoot it in the wings. Just one wing, not both sides, just pick a wing and put shots into it and you'll instantly cripple its ability to fight effectively. Well, at least its ability to maneuver effectively. If you're willing to go head-on in front of something that's got a nose-mounted 20mm cannon, you're likely still going to take damage. Now, bringing the nose back around, it looks like this P-51 is very interested in just trying to head-on with me again, so just fire from off-center. I probably should have killed him then twice, but with this damage to the wing, I've noticed even the yaw ability of the aircraft is affected. It just couldn't bring its nose around enough. But the P-51 goes into the drink, and there's a kill assist, 2 kills, 1 assist, and that is the end of the match. So let's go through and check out the results. So, second place, 2 kills, 1 assist, Avenger, Professional X2, Shadow Strike Streak X2, Terror of the Sky, and On Hand, 60,085 Silver Lions, and 3,791 research points, still with a 75% booster. And that completed my offensive 13mm belts. So again, not a bad match, and a very good study at how damage affects the performance of this aircraft, and as it turns out, quite significantly. The G-14 appears to be very lightweight, which will account for its acceleration and its overall maneuverability, which is incredibly good. However, it doesn't appear to be one of those aircraft that can take multiple big hits and still continue to soldier on like nothing happened. When this thing takes damage, it really does rein in its ability to continue to fight. Still, I have a few more of the unlocks to get on the plane, but I may have just found myself a new favourite 109. And I'm really looking forward to finding out how this thing handles and performs when it's fully spaded. Anyways, ladies and gents, I'm going to call this one here. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.